Welcome to another episode of the Cool Tool Show and Tell. Our special guest this week is Josué Moreno. So, Josué, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me here, Kevin. I'm quite well. I am a composer and musician, but what I do for composition is a little bit extended, so I could be called a sound artist. So yeah, and I'm living in Finland, even though I'm from Spain, and I besides my composition projects, I work at the university at the Sibelius Academy, University of the Arts, teaching at the music technology department. That's what I do.
Okay, so you're a musician and a composer. Well, welcome. I'd love to hear more about that. I think maybe some of your tools will be related. So,
Mhm.
Josué, tell us about your one of your favorite tools.
Yes, well, these two has been actually with me a lot of time. I think first time I found this one was by chance in 2011. So since then I've been and it's this mobile Roland mobile cube. I still have this one with the with the label.
And
I
you're
have
holding up
many of these.
something, you're holding up a little self-contained box about the size
Yes,
of
might be about 30 centimeters
yeah,
long, and then
it's like a
this
big
might be
lunchbox
18.
size. Yes,
Yes,
18 by
yes,
30
yes. It's not
centimeters.
very thick.
Yeah, for the American audience, it's about a foot wide, about 8 inches high, and maybe 5 inches
Yes,
thick, and with a strap on the top.
yes, yes. And it has two speaker cones or two
Right,
tweeters, let's say,
right,
and then we have a strap to hold
right.
it. Yes,
So in the
and
old days, we might have called that a boom box.
yes, but this one is slightly smaller. But
Okay.
yeah, a boombox is actually quite a good thing. And why I'm used this one, it's because nowadays you might think that it looks a little bit retro because we have like actual connectors here.
Yeah.
That you have a RCA and then you have mini jack and
Right.
water
You're
inch
on the
bottle
side.
jack.
He's showing a bunch of connectors on the side. They're all the old
Yes,
fashioned audio connectors. They're red and white
yes.
plug and some,
The RCA, the
yeah,
yes. And then you have the
knobs on.
on top you have different, yeah, you have a bunch of knobs depending on what you are connecting. If you are connecting a
Right.
microphone or if you are connecting an instrument, and then you can have a delay and some
Right.
effects in
So,
here.
so my
Yeah.
understanding about this boombox is it's not just like a cassette recorder. It's actually an amplifier that you can plug
Yes, yes,
in musical instruments like a microphone or a
yes,
guitar or something.
yes. It has some fancy, not fancy, but some kind of consumer-based things like it has a button here that if you are plugging something that is playing a song, you can cancel the center, so you can do karaoke
Yeah.
with this because it removes the singer from the
Oh, I
audio.
see. I see.
Uh, but I'm using this one because it's wired, and it means that you can plug anything that is lossless audio. You don't need to be dependent on the quality of wireless communication, and you can plug to anything and then affect this one, and you can have more than one thing connected to here. And the first time I used this one was in a sound installation that this could go behind the actual visual object and through. So the thing is, you can place it in several positions, and it's always nice. And the thing is, that the final trick is that it's battery operated, so you
Okay.
can have a six AA
I see.
things.
So they're kind of
Um,
they're not they're kind of the replaceable batteries, although you could use rechargeables, but they are
yes,
a battery
yes,
built
you can
in
use rechargeable, and you can plug it
power
to the
adapter.
to power.
And so
Yes.
so
So
I see how this might be useful for someone doing street performing, like they're kind of, a busker or somebody who's on the street,
yes,
a subway. They could bring this along. You can plug in your microphone or guitar or both, and then you have a little tiny
yes,
miniature amplifier and speaker, What are some of the other uses for this?
Yes, the why I'm using it very much is because this is not too heavy. It might be about 2 kilos and a half or something like that. And then the thing is that when I do projects in public spaces, but I use a very large amount of loudspeakers or transducers to transduce sound, or it's these contact loudspeakers things. Sometimes I use as many as 96. So that's too much if I want to prototype. And the spaces are very large and that you would need lots of cable. But I can bring 4 or 6 of these, place them in different places in the public space I'm gonna do, and test different sounds and being quite invisible myself. Like, there is not a lot of technology to be shown at the point, so I could actually see how people react to the sounds themselves. So there is not a lot of people asking what is this fancy technology, but they are listening to the sounds and how they work on
Okay.
the space. So that is, I use them for prototyping my large scale projects, but also, for instance, in performance, this is quite nice, the strap. And I have had a choir, for instance, making this walking performance and the audience following, and then they would carry a player and this in the hand. So then they could be running and going upstairs, downstairs, or doing all sort of things with this, which is quite convenient because instead of having to rely on very sophisticated algorithms for spatializing audio, I can just actually bring the audio to the places physically, like this.
Okay. And so
So
it looks like it retails for around $220. Um,
yes,
so that's
yes,
pretty reasonable for and they also like Roland makes larger versions of their cube as well. Um,
yes.
but
But
for you
this
the
is kind of the sweet spot.
yeah, right. The
So
portability is and
yes,
I know just from my walking around that there seem to be a bunch of other miniature amp speaker combinations that street performers use. How does this
Mhm.
compared with some of the other ones that are available?
Well, I particularly like this one because the stereo image is still quite like it's very wide. So you could have only one loudspeaker and have the sensation of having more than one. This this one I like it, and for the kind of sounds I play, this is the one that goes best with
Because
it.
it tends
And
to
and
fill a room. Is for you, it's mostly in the
yes,
room rather than being outside.
yes, or when it's outside, it's still like if you are facing it, then you still have the sensation of having two loudspeakers. So
Uh-huh.
if I do a little bit like that, then I can get all sort of reflections uh, from the same. Whether most of the other amplifiers, they are usually mono because
I
it
see.
makes more sense.
Hmm.
Yes, and many of them are actually marketed to guitarists that they want to rehearse when they are in hotel rooms and things like that. That they still need an amplifier for the electric guitar. There are very small ones that are still very powerful, but
Uh-huh.
this is kind of the sweet spot.
Okay. And if you weren't a musician, is there any, could you double, I mean, does it have input to put a phone, um, to jack a
Yes,
phone in so that you could play your music and like outside at a party or something?
yeah, yeah. This they have an aux in, and then you can have all sort of like here it has an equalizer, very simple
Yeah.
equalizer, and then reverb and delay,
Uh-huh.
and it is, yeah, this is the one that if you are in a party and you want to sing along in a karaoke style, you just
Right.
press this one and the singer disappears from the audio so that you can sing any song you are playing in.
Wow.
So,
How does it do that?
well, because most of the audio or most of the recordings they have always the singer in the center.
Uh,
So if you invert the phase, then you can play with the phase cancellation and remove everything that's in the center.
wow. Cool. Okay.
Yes.
That's neat. All right. Well, that's a great one.
Yes,
Thank you for that. That's the Roland Mobile Cube. Um,
yes.
and yeah, it's about $200 on Amazon. So it's a great find.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, first time I found it, it was 130 euros, which was back then even smaller price in dollars. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's 13 years ago or so. Yeah.
Yeah, but you also may be able to find used versions of it, I would imagine, too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
eBay. So, okay, Josue, what's another tool that you would recommend?
Yeah. Well, this tool is basically my life. Let's first time I was in the university and I was forced to learn this. I really hated every single bit of it, but I think most of my career has developed with the same development of the software, and it's this piece called Max.
So this is software that runs on uh
It runs on Macintosh and Windows.
okay, so it runs on laptops and some kind of music software, it looks like. So we're seeing a picture of a laptop screen with a bunch of different I don't know what you call it, charts or windows, and there's a keyboard.
Yes, it's basically like the experimental musician kind of thing. Like probably one famous was the Radiohead. They used Max Max
Okay.
back then it was called Max MSP,
All right.
and this was developed decades ago. First at IRCAM in France by Miller Packard, and then it became a company in itself with Ciccarelli in, I believe, in LA. They were based on San Francisco, actually. So this is just graphic flowchart um, programming environment that you just have one box that does something that generates a random number within a range, and then that random numbers get sent to the different places that do something with that number, and then at the end you can generate sound or video or just MIDI information or
So
OSC,
I'm
which
trying to understand. So it looks like you could um are you taking like virtual instruments and you're kind of drag and drop, you're kind of moving them around in a flow chart way, saying this thing goes to here and then it goes over here and this one comes back
yes.
here and you're moving things around and are the little squares that you're moving around that are the inputs and outputs, are they actually just a virtual thing or do they actually are they hooked up or do they actually move the inputs around in a virtual way? I'm not really clear what level you're working here. Is this just a representation of a physical circuit, or is this actually the circuit that you're moving?
I think this is the actual circuit. Like it's supposed, because you could plug it to the external world, either having the external world as an input, or like here in the examples they have some sensors and a contact microphone here, but it can be anything coming in. And then
And where does it go into? Where does
yes,
let's say you have a contact microphone on one here, and here you have a underwater microphone, and here you have maybe a little drum head. Where do those
yes.
inputs go to?
So for instance, if I would be to get the microphone coming just right here, and for instance, I would record it audio
Okay,
file
here,
here. This,
for the listeners, where is here? What do you mean here?
oh yes, sorry, yes, yes. So basically, this if you open Max first time, it's just an open canvas. It's
Right, it's
blank,
blank.
and now I'm showing a perfectly blank window. But then you have all sort of boxes that are programming interfaces in itself. So each box is an object that does one particular thing very well. So, for instance, if you have a buffer, then this means that you are buffering or keeping in the memory some audio file, but it can be also a video file or
Okay.
sensor data.
Right. So there could be little behaviors or processes or filters. We can understand that. But again,
Yes.
if you have a contact microphone and a physical
Yes.
thing, where are they plugged into?
Yeah, you can plug it, for instance, to a record object that then records that information into the
No, but I
buffer.
mean, where does the wire or physical wire go to?
Oh, well, that goes through an audio interface. Yes, yes. You need to have a way of contacting to your computer. This,
Okay.
Max is basically only software,
Right.
but it has a lot of properties. And so the thing, for instance, I'm showing here an example in which you can have an audio file that can be a recording of a bird. And then if you press a button and analyzes it, then it transcribes it into a score, into musical score, for instance. So, so this can be very useful, for instance, if you are writing music to perform along certain kind of birds, or if you just want to bring the musicality of those birds into your music composition. But at the same time, because this interacts with all sort of information depending on how you actually plug that to the computer. So
Right.
you can have well, we've connected this in the Shanghai pavilion, the Finnish pavilion they did for the Shanghai World Expo back in 2010. We had a video screen that was 47 meters long, and they were generating some bubbles, and the bubbles have to burst in particular places along that curved 47 meters long screen. So there were not many softwares that could do that without having a real programming, like low level programming or some
Okay.
I don't know, C or C++. But when you had to, but with Max, it's kind of good for the brain of the musicians, but it doesn't make much sense for everybody else. It's just basically you just have an object that has an input, and then you do
Output.
something to the input, and then it has an output that travels through the wire to
Right.
another place, and then so I use this software for a lot of things. And for instance, this is one of the installations I did in a winter
You're
garden.
showing a
And
plan
here,
here of a building from the top view, kind of like a blueprint of a very large building that seems to have like a ballroom in the center. And
yes,
what we see are, I guess maybe these are speaker locations throughout the building, and you, I guess, have them hooked up in some way.
yes. So this is just the visualization part. But if I would unlock this, you will see now I unlock the patch, and then you see that the map is just an image, and then I have one object sending all the audio through
Right.
yellow
Kind of like a
wires.
wiring diagram, but presumably this is the route of the sound as it goes through the different
Yes,
parts of the process.
yes. So the nice thing of this is that instead of using a very complex visualizator or visualization software, that what I would just use is send the audio to one of these U meters. So then I would see the needle moving or
Yeah,
the peak meter moving, and because it's a very complex, like 96 audio channels, it's very difficult to actually know
sure.
if
Okay.
you are sending the audio to the right place. So,
Sure. So I guess,
so
there are like lots of sound software like Logic or something that would be used where you're kind of having a single output, like you're going to have an audio file that you're going to record or something, and maybe you have a limited number of inputs. But this software, this Max, seems to be useful for when you have multiple kinds of outputs and
yes,
unlimited number of different kinds of inputs, and you're doing different
yes.
things to them. So it's much more versatile in that sense of, as you said, trying to create an environment, a sound environment, or anything experimental. So the Mac software, what's the deal on that? So how much does it cost?
Yes, yes. Just before, like one nice thing that now they added is an extension of the software that is called Rainbow,
Okay.
and that means that you can program this thing, as sophisticated as you want, and then export it as code, so you can generate a interactive website or plug it into
Oh, I see.
some elevator.
You mean you can take, you say code, meaning that it's reduces it down to like an app? Is that what you mean by code?
Yeah, you can make it as a JavaScript or C++,
Okay,
and then embed it into machines.
I see.
So,
So what you're
so this is
showing,
very nice.
you're showing in the beginning, you're showing toggling between the flow diagram, the flow chart of all these things, and then it it toggles and it, I guess, compiles into a nice little web page with a beautifully designed interface. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. So this is actually very nice software. If you when you were mentioning the circuits things and the yeah, one of my teachers, Caleb Teets, he used to generate circuitry first prototyping with Max,
Hmm.
and so he could very easily figure out the logic of it, and then he would go with a soldering iron and do
I
the
see.
things. And
Okay.
so yeah, there is one you can buy the license. I think it's how much was it, like the license that they yeah,
And
it's a
so it
shop here.
sounds like, is it a one-time thing? Is it a subscription?
Yes, it's a one time. Yeah, it's you can subscribe
$10 a month,
by for nine yeah $10 a month, and you can have an annual subscription that gets
right?
2 months off. But also you can buy it for four
Like
hundred
a
dollars.
lifetime. $400 lifetime.
Yeah, they used to update it very often, and they keep adding
Yeah,
externals and things like that. Yeah, and there is a educational discount for this as well. It's almost 50%.
I see. Educational discount. Okay. So
Yes.
so if you're, yeah, so if you're into experimental music or making music environments, this sounds like something you should consider. Are there alternatives? Are there competitor softwares? And
Yeah,
how is it different?
yeah. There is like the biggest thing is that Miller Packard, who was the one who invented Max, to interface with the Forex synthesizer. He was not happy with the development, or I don't know what happened, but he continued. He went on himself with his own version of this, and it's pure data. PED, I think. So I can send you the link for
Yeah. And
this.
how does it compare to this?
Well, the thing is that pure data keeps this very raw way, like it's yeah, black and white, and the philosophy of it is that if you print the software, anybody can know what the software is doing because the cables are clearly connected
Okay.
and all this, and it stays very much with the within the realm of the. It's developed at University of San Diego, California, and yeah, the thing is that because it's open source, uh, there are many different forks,
Okay.
and so then they have like the pure data that Miller Packard keeps developing on himself.
Yeah.
That's called the vanilla version, and then there are like there used to be this
Yeah.
extended and so on, and you never really know what object is gonna continue working or not.
Yeah. Right.
And
So
the
it's open.
benefit of
Yeah.
yes.
So I guess the benefit is that it's open source, and that probably means that it's free or cheap and open source. So,
Yes.
so that's the main difference. Okay.
Yes, yes, and but Max has really uh, take off like it in terms of stability things,
Yeah.
because now you can embed it into softwares like Ableton Live, that is also competitor to Logic, let's say. So
Okay.
yeah,
So you would use this in conjunction with using a Logic or something. Is that right?
yes, usually inside Ableton Live that if there is some particular sound processing that doesn't exist the way you want it, then you can just tweak a little bit and make your own version.
Okay.
Or if you are doing a theater performance, then you can have different scenes. running with this generative
in
systems.
Max.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So,
So
Josué, tell me a third tool that you're excited by.
yes, yes. So so one part of my life is this making music with algorithms and all these large scale installations. But then, of course, as any university researcher and as an artist, most of the time you spend is actually writing. So either reporting, grant application, but also publishing books or things like that. So the next tool is one tool that I am quite fond of, and it's Overleaf. It's the Google Docs for LaTeX, like
For latex. Yeah.
LaTeX.
Right.
Yes.
So,
So
for those who don't know about latex, latex is the language and the protocol that people use to write formulas and very complicated mathematical equations and all the kind of very arcane and difficult things it would be to generate in your Google Doc, right? And so
yes,
latex is, if you're doing any kind of scientific publishing, it's the standard protocol formatting for doing scientific and mathematical equations and formulas. So you're
yes.
suggesting this is is it the only or is it the best way to do that, latex?
Well, with LaTeX, the extra thing I like about LaTeX is that besides, of course, I have to type out algorithms and things like that, and it's very difficult with other software, but or more boring, let's say. But what you have to do also is that when you are writing in this typesetting format, is that you only think of the content, and then everything else gets in the right place, like all the hyphenation at the end of the sentences and so on, because when you are not a native Americans like a speaker, your English is not your mother tongue, then it's kind of difficult to figure out where is the hyphen going and when to split a sentence or
Yeah.
this kind of. So this is why I fell in love with LaTeX, because yeah, when something is in a place, then it will stay in that place. If you move a picture, everything else stays properly format, and you can have all sort of fonts. But the difference why I like Overleaf is because I'm gonna share now my screen if you don't mind. It's is that the you can have it online and access it anytime. Most recent version of LaTeX, you don't have to install the repositories on your
So it's like,
screen.
it's like Google Docs in that sense. It's like a Google shared online
Yes,
Google. It's in the cloud. So Overleaf is sort of a cloud version of a latex editor. Um, and so what are some of the other um, does it is it subscription? Is it
yes. There is a free plan
yeah.
here. When you say explore plans, there is one free that you can be only you, and
Okay.
then you have a certain number of files you can actually be editing, and then there is a standard that is 179 per year, or
Euros.
professional
Yeah.
that is yes, euros. Yeah, sorry,
Right, right.
and three.
Looks like if you were a single person and wanted to try out, you can get here started for free to see if you use it. And it becomes more expensive if you start to use it for collaborating, which often many scientific papers do, or in fact, all of them these days are collaborations. And so this might be
Yes,
a way to justify the per year
the
charge.
purchase. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, but the nice thing is that many universities are actually working on. They have an account. So, for instance, my university here, the University of the Arts, they do have a subscription, so I don't have to
Right.
be taking care of this. And it's nice because you can have 2, 3 people collaborating on this, and many universities they do have they contribute with templates and all sort of So you can have, like, for instance, the first time I used this one was I needed to write very quickly a grant application, and I just searched for the best template to make the reading the easiest version, and
Yeah.
for grant readers that they need to read a lot, then this helped me a lot.
Right.
And the thing is, for instance, my own doctoral dissertation is done with a template facilitated by NYU, New York University. So the thing is that now I'm showing what is that my actual dissertation, but you have on the left side you have your directory or your tree, and then in the center you have the actual LaTeX that is quite nice. Also for citations, like you just specify in the style what you want to type on the style of your citations, and then if you just say cite, so
Right.
you open that one, and then when you select it, you can just
Right.
choose.
It's a citation.
It's appearing now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of like a markup language, and you're adding the
Yes,
markup languages to it, but it's much more aimed at, rather than to a web page, it's aimed to kind of format a paper publication, something that will be, like a
yes,
document.
yes,
And so you have
yes. And for
all these
instance,
things of
yes,
of formatting, and then placement, and then, as you said, citations, and making it easy to put in a footnote or a reference or
yes,
endnotes and stuff
yes,
like
and you
that.
don't have to care about everything gets ordered by itself in the references
Right.
uh, and
Right.
all this, and change the color of the entire hyperlinks for
Sure.
the printing
Yeah.
version versus the online version. But the nice thing of this is, just to add an extra thing, is that if you are collaborating with somebody that doesn't know how to use LaTeX, then you can have also the visual editor. And I'm now pressing on a tab, and then you can have a yeah. There is text here in blue that they are just comments, but then the quote levels are shown here clearly, and it looks just now like basically more like Google Docs.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
so if somebody is not a LaTeX user, they can collaborate with you without
Yeah.
scratching their heads learning a new syntax.
Okay. All right. So
Um,
this is called Overleaf, and it's a
yes,
cloud-based latex editor for the latex markup language. Um,
yes,
for mostly for people doing somewhat academic-ish or professional kind of documents. Um, so,
yes.
um, Josué, what's your fourth tool you'd like to share with us?
Yes, so and it's also related to writing, because I use LaTeX once I know what I'm gonna write and what
Sure.
is the structure and the content. But sometimes you need to figure out how to think about something, or what is the right order, and this, and there are many tools for writers, the writers that write novels and long format books, things like that. So the but software like Scrivener, for instance, I find it, once it has too many things, and also it looks like a little bit bloated to me, like a little bit too romantic. It's this has this pseudo skeuomorphic version. Like the design is like is meant for the
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. Which one is this is too romantic?
yeah. Like I'm just criticizing Scrivener that it doesn't work for me,
Oh,
because
Scrivener,
it's
Scrivener,
just
Scrivener.
yes,
Okay,
Scrivener.
okay.
Yes, yes.
Scrivener is too romantic, too cluttered for you in terms of
Yeah.
as a writing tool. So for the
Yes.
listeners, Scrivener is a kind of like a card, index card based. There are little chunks that you do, and you move those chunks around, and then you can kind of aggregate them very easily at the end. So that seems to be the overarching motif for that
Yes.
one. So
Yes.
you're recommending a different app. It's called
Yes.
Ulysses, right?
Yes. So
And
this
how is this
Ulysses
better?
is yeah. The thing is that it does the same as Scrivener, but yeah, it just looks a little bit more I don't know, easier to use in the sense. So it's cleaner in at least for my brain, because when you're writing, it's you have to, it's a very personal kind of thing. What motivates you? So in the Ulysses website, they where it is now here they do show, and this is also markdown, so you can type in one hash, and then that would be the title, things like that. But when you look at it, it just looks wide, like an open wide page.
Uh-huh.
So everything, it's so yeah. If
But
I show now my actual, yes.
why don't you use Google Docs? That's pretty minimal. There's no real clutter on a Google Doc.
Yes, I'm going there. Yes, because for instance, this is my actual. Again, I was trying just to put examples of my
Uh-huh.
doctoral dissertation, but this is before the doctoral dissertation. This is the work I did. So you have these cards here on the side,
Okay.
and I'm just showing kind of these tabs that
Yeah.
are vertically arranged, and you can group them. So if I select one that belongs to a group, all the others get selected. So you can group them by chapter, and then you can drag and drop things
Right.
and inside the chapter. So
Right.
I'm now dragging different sections, so I can reorder the things. And the nice thing in here is as well that I'm just thinking on the content itself. So you can drag pictures here, and then they will display properly.
Yeah.
And you can have comments that they look in red. And now I have this setting that is this typewriting uh, system that only keeps your sentence in the center always, and then it highlights it. But where the magic starts happening with this is that you have all these other tools here hidden. That is like it can you can go to your
You're
comments,
showing something
or
on the right side of your document or the screen. You're calling down like a drop down of so there's on the left column are the organizational cars. The center is the text you're working on. Then on the right is another column that is
yes.
drop down functions.
Yes, so in one tab you have like it's this revision mode, and you can review your comments, and also you can check your text, and it's multilingual, so you can check in many different languages. But also you have a dashboard that just comments your here now. When you open the dashboard, and you have kind of the stats about your
Yeah,
writing,
right.
and you can set up kind of how many words you want to write every day, or how many
Yeah. So
things.
it looks like
And
that
it's
the main advantage this has over, say, Google Docs, which is very, very simple and flat, is that there's sort of an outlining function here where you can add some
yes,
organizational structures of having sections and chapters and subsections and things that are grouped below and above. And so you can kind of do a little bit of a hierarchical outlining function as well as
yes,
just having a shared doc in the cloud. And presumably
yes.
this is it's in the cloud, meaning that you can collaborate with other people on it as well. Is that right? Does it do track changes?
Yeah, you can use it on the cloud. You can use it as an app itself. I have it as an app, and my backup is in iCloud
Mhm.
on the Apple ecosystem.
But I mean, is it
And
collaborative like a Google
the
Doc?
you could, but probably this one is not as good for collaboration. This one is more for you know piecing things together, because the you reorder, and then you add comments around here, and then you can use one of these cards to be only material, so it doesn't get printed, but it's just your reference.
That's
And the nice thing is that then you can share when you this is also one of the things that made me fall in love, like when you click on export, then you get all sort of for instance, if you have it into doc, so this would be a Microsoft Office regular
format.
Word processor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can also have it like a PDF, and they will get different layout, slightly different, and then you can publish as an EPUB. So it will have as a electric publication or HTML.
Mhm.
And all these things, the beauty of this is that you can connect it to your WordPress account and add a blog post to your website and things like that. So if you
Okay.
want to be very efficient, this is probably the thing you do.
Okay, so tell us about the economics. This is Ulysses. It runs on Mac and Windows.
No, I'm sorry. This one is Mac and iOS devices. So
Okay.
you can have it in your iPhone, and yes, it's only Apple
Okay.
thing. Yeah, it's probably one of the downsides of this one, but the pricing is not expensive. It's like $40 per year,
Or $6 per month.
and or $6 per month, and there is academic discount on this as well.
Okay. Alrighty. So, Josué, that's very good. Some good tools, productivity tools. Thank you for those. Tell us a little bit about your passion project. What are you passionate about these days? What are you working on that you'd like to share with this audience?
Yeah, well, the thing is that when you are a musician, a composer, and a researcher, most of what you do is a passion project, and it's your work itself, and it's also kind of a cause that you have. And for me, the main cause I do have is actually I want to. Or I love when people stays outdoors, but not only in the countryside, but also in the city, and they stay outside together. So lots of people from many different backgrounds, from many different age groups together coexisting. And I believe that sound is one of the tools we have for that. That is in material cost is quite cheap. And I decided to align myself with this practice of urban acupuncture. That
Say that again. Of what?
basically, urban acupuncture. That it was
Airborne?
urban, like for the city.
Urban. Oh,
Urban.
urban acupuncture?
Yes.
Urban
That's it.
acupuncture. Okay.
Yes.
What's
So
urban acupuncture?
what they state is that when a public space does not fully work, and the people don't want to stay there, or they don't feel safe, or these kind of things,
I see.
probably you don't need to tear down the entire neighborhood and build it again. But one small change in which the people has some say, that would improve the overall circulation of the thing, in the same way of acupuncture working. So the thing is that I presented the sonic take on this, and I've been very lucky of doing large scale projects on this. Like one of the biggest one was in the central railway station here in Helsinki, that there was this very dodgy tunnel that the people had to cross, but they were not feeling particularly safe there. And just by making a little bit warmer the place and show that there was somebody taking care of it, or putting some love, then the people started engaging with the place and figuring out walking slower on the place, and talking about this with just passersby, and a lot of Instagram posts and things like that. So at the end, that was running for the 3 darkest months in Finland, which is very dark, and that provided this, after going to work and going back home, a much nicer experience.
What
I
was the
received lots
intervention
of
that you
good
did? I
feedback.
didn't understand the intervention that was installed there. What was the thing
Well,
that made the difference?
yeah, the thing is that the in that particular tunnel, you have a very clear walking path is pretty much straight, and then on top of that, the trains pass in a perpendicular way, in a perpendicular path. So the thing is that there is this huge sound coming from the trains, but also the lighting in the place was not the best taken care of.
Okay.
The ceiling was not particularly, and that led that, especially in 2020, basically that tunnel became the toilet, and this kind of like, it was pretty unsafe to go around and not too nice.
Right.
So what I did was first we cleaned up the entire place, and we made a little bit better with the lighting. We made it warmer, and I transformed the train passing on top of that, as if that could be somebody striking a chord in a string in a guitar, and we would be inside the body of the guitar. So whenever there will be a train passing and making, then it's all sort of this sonic warmth will come to you as a resonance,
And how did you
so
do
it would.
that? How did you make that change? Was it, I can see trains going over. You can't really stop the train from making noises. Are you masking the noise in some way?
No, I actually use this. I use the sound. That's one thing I believe. Like sometimes instead of suppressing, it's better to
Mhm.
include it into a bigger picture thing. So what I did is I placed some microphones along the place. So it was a very large tunnel, very long. So depending on where the train is passing, then that area will become a hot spot, and it will be like, and then that will become into, something like that, and it will be. It was very, very nice experience, and as a side effect that I didn't expect, also when there was somebody dropping a large suitcase or somebody would slam a door, also the installation would react,
I see.
and
So
there
you
was,
took the sound of the train and you kind of used it as an ingredient to make a larger, more distinctive sound built around that, and you kind of transformed it into a more pleasant sound using
yes, yes.
microphone and speakers.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
and the Max software in between, like the Max
good,
I
right.
showed to yeah, because I think what makes a sound being annoying is mostly that it's out of context, or too insistent, or extremely loud, or you know or too continuous. So if you do something about it, sometimes you don't really need to get rid of the trains, but
Right.
but make them as a aesthetic offer. Yeah.
Okay. And you call that urban sonic acupuncture, this idea that you're going to add a little disturbance, a little excitation in somewhere that would then increase circulation
Yes.
somewhere else or solve a problem. That's beautiful. Um,
Yes, and if I have a minute,
yeah.
it will be just like, also I did a kind of a portable version for the radio, because in 2020 a lot of people had to be in the same place for a lot of time or take very short walks. So I
Mhm.
used sound and some little perceptual exercises for them to walk around with headphones, and then find every time new things on their environment. So again, this was an opportunity of enforcing my cause of making people lives a little bit nicer by using sound.
Well, I think it's a great place to end. Thank you for your efforts in that. Thank you for being aware, and thank you for taking time and sharing your tools with us for others who might want to do the same thing, to use sound as a way to better people's lives. I appreciate your volunteering for this, and I really appreciate your spirit in trying to use sound to make our lives better. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Sure. This year, our Cool Tools blog will be 20 years old, which means we've been posting something new every day for 20 years. It's only possible because of the very engaged and knowledgeable readers and listeners like yourself. You've kept this place going, and we are very grateful for you. With this idea of 20 years in mind, we decided to try an experiment this year, and I'm inviting our guests and listeners to join me on our Cool Tool Show and Tell, which is the program that you're listening to right now. So if you feel you'd make a good guest on this podcast and have 4 uncommon tools that you'd like to share with us, please sign up on our form on the website, and we'll see about inviting you. You must be comfortable talking on a video, and you need to have some tools that you can show. We record on, as you know, on Zoom. We do a YouTube version, a video version of it, as well as an audible version. Fill out the form if you're interested, and list your 4 cool tools, and we'll see if there's a good fit. The applications aren't guaranteed in any way, and we're looking at tools that are new to us and appropriate tools, and whether the times will work for you. So we're really interested in hearing from people all over the world, not just in the US, although the tools have to be available online, easily available online. And if you are a longtime listener, you kind of know what the definition of our tools are. They're very broad. They can be anything that's handy, from something in the kitchen to something you use to travel, to a workshop, to something professional that we may not know about. We're really interested in things that we don't know anything about. So this is an open invitation. We'll give it a try. If you think you make a good guest for this podcast, fill out the form. There'll be a link somewhere on our website, and we look forward to chatting with you. Thank you.